Hello, this is John with Coach.Win. Each week, the coaches at Coach.Win get together and share best practices. We share articles we've written, articles we've read, and other sources of information that we think are valuable. We're going to be creating those into a podcast. Because we believe so much in AI, we're going to let the podcast be created by us uploading all those articles and have it automatically recorded. So while the voices you're about to hear are AI, the content behind it is all generated by the coaches at Coach.Win. Enjoy the podcast.
Hey everyone, thanks for sending in this stack of articles on time management, coaching, and leadership. Looks like we are in for a really interesting deep dive today.
Yeah, it looks like you are really trying to up your game in a bunch of different areas. And you know what? These resources all kind of point to this interesting idea. Sometimes you have to give up control to actually get control.
Okay, I am intrigued. How do you mean?
Well, it is like this. Sometimes the best way to get back some of your time is to actually give your problems away.
Give our problems away. I think I know where this is going. We actually got a question about this from a listener. And one of the articles you sent in, The Management Time, Who's Got the Monkey, really gets into this.
Oh, that's a classic. And for good reason, too. Once you understand the idea of those monkeys, it can really change how you approach delegation and those quick questions from your team.
It's so true. So for our listener who asked about this, and anyone else who hasn't encountered this idea before, imagine this. You're rushing down the hall, late for a meeting, of course, and an employee stops you with the dreaded phrase, "You've got a problem."
Oh, no, I can feel the stress already.
Right. And because you're a team player, you say, okay, just quickly, let me think about that and I will get back to you.
Bam. Just like that, the monkey has jumped from their back onto yours.
Exactly. You've now taken ownership of their problem, added another to-do to your already overflowing list, and probably guaranteed you'll be even later to your meeting.
And the real issue here is that when we're constantly taking on everyone else's monkeys, those small, often unimportant tasks, we lose sight of the bigger picture.
We get so bogged down in the day-to-day that we lose track of our actual priorities.
Yes, the gorillas, as Stephen Covey calls them, those important tasks that actually move the needle. And based on all the material you sent in, it seems like you're really trying to focus on those gorillas, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. Our listeners definitely looking for actionable strategies to reclaim their time and energy for those high-impact activities. But it's so easy to get sucked into that vortex of other people's priorities. I know I've been there.
Oh, me too. And I think it happens to the best of us, especially those of us who, like to be helpful and are natural problem solvers.
Oh, 100%. So how do we break free from this monkey madness and reclaim our time for those gorillas?
Well, that's what we're going to dig into next. And trust me, it's not as simple as just saying no to everything.
So how do we get rid of these monkeys, these smaller tasks that other people try to hand off to us? And how do we do that without turning into, the colleague or leader everyone avoids in the hallway?
Right. We don't want to be completely dismissive. That's where that idea of strategically giving problems away comes in. It's not about just saying not my problem and walking away. It's about empowering your team to manage their own workload.
It's about trusting them to handle things, even if they might do it a little differently than you would.
Exactly. And the Management Time article, it actually lays out a framework for thinking about this. It talks about 5 levels of initiative that employees can take, from waiting to be told what to do all the way up to acting independently and just keeping you in the loop.
And the goal is to help them move up those levels, to feel comfortable taking ownership and making decisions on their own, right?
Yes. It is about creating a culture of trust and ownership. It's like that feeling you get when you are on a road trip with friends. You've all decided to drive to California together, but you don't need to plan out every single gas station stop or rest stop along the way, right?
I like where you're going with this. So we're all in the car, California's the goal, but everyone has their role to play.
Exactly. Someone is the driver, someone navigates, someone else controls the music. Everyone has their own strengths and responsibilities, and when someone veers off course a bit, well, that's okay.
Right. It's a learning experience. And chances are someone in the car will notice and speak up before things go too far off track.
Exactly. And that's how we want our teams to function, right? Everyone knows the destination, everyone has their role, and they have the freedom to navigate those smaller bumps in the road without constantly having to check in.
It creates a much more enjoyable and productive environment for everyone involved. But it does require a certain level of trust, both from the leader and the team members. Which reminds me of another document you sent in, creating help and celebrate conversations. It stresses how important those one-on-one meetings are for building that trust.
Oh, absolutely. And for coaching, it shouldn't just be about checking off tasks, but about really supporting your team's growth and celebrating their successes. And on the flip side, when those inevitable mistakes do happen,
Because they will happen. Right.
of course, but it's about using those as learning opportunities. And that leads us perfectly to the 5 whys, which, for the record, is not about questioning your sanity when your team brings you yet another problem.
Uh-huh. Though I'm sure we've all been there. Okay, so tell us more about these 5 whys.
It's a framework that helps you get to the root cause of a problem, not just address the symptoms. You keep asking why until you uncover those deeper issues.
And that reminds me of something you mentioned earlier about leading indicators from the critical tool for completing goals document. It's about focusing on the small, everyday actions that ultimately drive the bigger result.
And the 5 whys helps us connect those dots. It's like, okay, this one thing went wrong, but why? And then why was that the case? You keep peeling back those layers.
Until you get to that aha moment where you find the real source of the issue.
And those aha moments can be incredibly valuable, both for addressing the immediate problem and for preventing similar ones from happening in the future.
It's about creating a culture of continuous improvement, right? Which is something our listener seems very passionate about based on the materials they sent in. But to your point, continuous improvement requires constant feedback and reflection, both on an individual and team level. So it is about understanding those underlying causes and using them as opportunities for growth. And it makes me think about how, when you're watching sports, you don't just celebrate the final score, right?
You were looking at all those little plays that led up to it.
Exactly. The assists, the rebounds, all those individual actions that add up to the win. And it strikes me that achieving any goal, whether it's a company-wide target or even a personal one, it's the same idea. We need those clear metrics, those individual actions we can measure to track our progress.
Absolutely. And that is where that final document you send in comes in. What's the score? It really emphasizes the importance of having those scoreboards, not just for the company as a whole, but for individual departments, even individual people.
Everyone has their own personal scoreboard in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And when everyone understands their own metrics and how those contribute to the bigger picture, it can be incredibly motivating.
Exactly. It creates a shared sense of purpose and accountability.
And it can really transform those one-on-one meetings. Instead of just being about status updates, they become opportunities for coaching, for celebrating those small wins, for having those really productive conversations about what is working and what is not.
Yes. It is about creating a culture of continuous feedback and improvement, which, based on everything you've sent in, seems like something you really value.
It is, and I think it's something that a lot of people are striving for, both in their work and personal lives. It is about finding those strategies that help us navigate the chaos, delegate effectively, and ultimately reclaim our time and energy for those things that truly matter. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the biggest takeaway here is that sometimes to achieve more, we need to actually do less.
Less micromanaging, less taking on everyone else's problems.
And more trusting our teams, more focusing on those leading indicators, more creating an environment where mistakes are seen as opportunities for growth, not failures.
Absolutely. And when we can do that, when we can build that trust and shared sense of responsibility, it frees us up to focus on the bigger picture. Because careers today, they're not really about climbing a straight ladder anymore, are they?
It's more like navigating a jungle gym.
Exactly. It's about being adaptable, being willing to take risks, knowing when to ask for help, and trusting those around you.
It's about embracing those twists and turns and knowing that even when things get a little messy, a little chaotic,
We've got this.
we've got this. And we have the tools and strategies to navigate it all. So for everyone listening, we want to leave you with a final thought, a question to ponder as you go about your week. If you could implement just one thing we talked about today, what would it be and why? Let us know. We might just feature your answer in a future episode. Until then, happy navigating.